Jordan, I have to ask you this.
Okay.
Would you ever entertain someone that you had feelings for in the past? Like you had a relationship or a situationship. Let's say it's a situation. It wasn't defined. You know, things happen. You're torn apart, let's say, but you still really liked that person. It was like outside circumstances, but then you move away. They date one of your friends that did not move away. Now, you've lost contact with this friend. The situationship ended. They had like a brief relationship. It's not like they got married, but they were your friend and they were your situationship. When you move away, they dated. Would you ever entertain dating that person again if circumstances brought you back together?
I need more. Okay. First, first would be how close were we and me and my friend before we left?
Oh, like besties.
But
like
we didn't stay in touch?
Yes, because extenuating circumstances, mystery, you know.
And then when I come back, are we friends again? Like really close?
No, you've lost touch.
Okay,
Basically,
so we're not remerging in friendship.
You could later in the book, but when you first come back to this town that you've left forever ago, you are not friends at that moment. You have not spoken since you left. You've also not spoken to your situationship since you left. You could be friends later. You think that's fine?
I think if I came back and we immediately started being friends again, I think the importance is always the friendship, which I don't know if that's bad, but whatever. That's how I think.
I agree.
The importance would be the friendship. So number one, the extenuating circumstances would be important for why my friend dated them. But then again, like if we lose touch, like you don't know me anything, I don't know you anything. Like we've kind of, and then if I come back and we're not jumping into friendship right away, like none of my business.
True. Wow. That is not the answer I expected you to have. I expected outrage. I expected
I think the friendship has to be the most important part. Okay. So if the friendship is not playing a seat, like what am I?
But would you be disappointed in your friend that they dated your situationship that you had a crush on for a really long time?
It would depend on the extenuating circumstance, which I'm feeling like you can't tell me because you'd have to spoil.
Exactly. So I cannot spoil this book for you. I'm just outraged at that setup.
I think if it was just a distance, like, oh, we just fell out of touch. Maybe.
Well, kind of like a figurative fiasco happened. So it was a fly by night. I'm leaving. It's not like I decided to go away and I lost touch. It was kind of like a boom of misunderstanding. And she left and never spoke to anyone again. So it's kind of like, it's dicey.
Yeah, I would think if I left in a fit of rage, the rage is what takes number one.
You're like, I'm not letting go of that rage yet.
I'd have to forgive you. So if that forgiveness has not happened, I'm still in a state of rage.
Got it. Okay, that's what I expect. When I read that, the premise and the setup, I was like, hold up. Best friend, then dating your situationship that you had a crush on for forever. And they knew you had a crush on them for forever. I don't know about that. And then it fizzles out. They break up. They don't date forever. The friend and the ex situationship. But I would still be salty when I found out.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be mad, but I'd be mad in a way of like, you touched my enemy.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I feel like you go from friends to enemies if you fizzle out like that.
I mean, if it's a boom, if it's not just that I moved away and we lost touch and we tried, but you know, yeah. If it's a curtain call ending of like, I'm mad and I'm leaving, like, then yes.
Okay. You ready to get into it?
Yes, I am.
All right. I'm Jordan.
I'm Sheridan.
And together we're sipping on spice.
Yes, and once a week, Jordan and I get together and we talk about a different bookish topic, like we just kind of kicked this episode off with.
Yeah.
And this week we're going to be talking about all kinds of bookish related things, so I'm super excited to get into it.
Yes. Okay. So first thing I have to talk to you about, because I feel like this has come up recently for me a lot, and it's books that I've changed my mind about.
Ooh, yes.
So and what I mean by that is I read a book let's say 2 years ago and I hated it. And then I reread it for something that we're doing upcoming.
Yeah.
And I ended up really not hating it anymore. And did it become my favorite book? No. But did I start to appreciate it and did I let things go that I couldn't let go before? Yes. And I started to realize that this is happening a little bit more to me. And I think you're also familiar with this a bit. And I just think it's interesting that the importance of timing on books and when you read it and how it impacts how you receive it.
Oh, I completely agree. I have a big one that's going to shock you, and then I want to hear about yours, like an example of yours where it really changed for me.
Tell me.
Okay, I stand to be corrected. I stand to be called out. When I first read Wild Eyes under a year ago, it wasn't even that long ago, under half a year ago. So talk about things changing with moods changing or whatever. 6 months ago, I read Wild Eyes and I was not a fan. I could not get past the female main character. Like I could respect the writing. Elsie Silver is an excellent author. I could respect that, but I could not get past it. Well, we just read Wild Side, which we've talked about. And you were like, you need to give Wild Eyes another chance. So before bed, in between some of our other reads, I've been kind of like tandem reading and like skimming through Wild Eyes. And I'm actually catching myself liking it and getting
my God.
I know. I'm actually catching myself being like, oh, why was I so harsh? Why was I so harsh? Why?
The only thing I want to say to you,
say it.
Vindicated.
You're like,
this is a 5-star read for me, so I was shocked. Like the level of anger you felt in it when I loved it so much shocked me. And so like it's like one of those things that has lived like rent free as a problem child between us.
Yes. I was so salty. Like I was so openly salty. I'm on episodes talking about how salty I am. Social media, I talked about how salty I am. And I don't know. I just reread it and I'm like, okay, like I see why she behaved that way. I see why her character's journey is going on the journey she does. But then the male main character in that book has really...
He's a gold star.
Yes.
He's a gold star MMC. I was shocked. Like West is up there of like...
Agreed.
Book boyfriends. Okay, so mine... has been in a reread. So we're prepping for a big Elle Kennedy episode. Her newest book, The Charlie Method, just came out. It made me go back and pretty much reread the entire Briar universe. So a book I absolutely did not like was in the Off-Campus series. It was Dean and Allie's book. And I'm talking, I was angry about it. I was, and I love Elle Kennedy. Like I have pretty much every one of her books, like huge fan. Yeah. And I just never got over Dean. Dean has a discretion in the book that I never forgave. And then I went back and reread it. And honestly, I was fine with it. It wasn't like, was it my perfect 5-star read? No. But the way I felt about it went from like complete and utter hatred to like, okay, you know what? That's fine.
And that's wild because I do remember you saying you were so disappointed in that, like the male main character in that book. Like you were so upset. I do remember that. So that is wild that shifted so much. Yeah, like now you're like, okay.
And it's weird because then it like, okay, can I tell you what I worry the most about? Which is, would I go back and like Powerless?
Oh, can you imagine?
I don't think I could.
Oh, I want to know.
But could I force myself to reread it? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe audiobook because you could just listen. Like if you had an Audible, you could just listen.
I did that the first time and it put me in a 3-month book slump. It put me in the pit of despair.
It almost, I venture to say, that's what put you into your, you've always loved contemporary, but I think it's what's put you kind of like where you took fantasy romance as a back seat. Like I think it put you off fantasy romance for a minute.
It did. It's honestly, and it's interesting that you say that because like when I first started my book journey, I was a huge fantasy romance, like pretty much romantasy only. And you had to convince me to read contemporary. And now it's like, I find myself having to push myself to get into fantasy because I'll like it. Like, don't get me wrong. I still love fantasy romance. Yeah. But I find myself finding my escapism in contemporary now more so.
I blame Powerless because you were so salty.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I have never, so my fear is that I do that again. And then it just how much darker can it get?
You know what? I was kind of this is so interesting that you bring this up because it's something that I really want to read, but I was salty at the end of book 1. I thought it was inappropriate, and I was maybe inappropriately too salty. I do want to read the rest of the Veiled Kingdom series.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I feel like I understand why you feel the way you feel, but I feel like if you start off book 2, your forgiveness will be almost instantaneous because it's like an instant vibe shift. That is my personal opinion. I really do need to finish book 2 too. I'm only
okay, we need to do this. I really want us and book 3 that's coming out. You forgave Dean, so what if you go back and reread Powerless on just a whim, a year from now, and you love Kai? What if it happens?
I still stand by the fact that he just doesn't put any action into his talking game, and I don't. But then again, I've moved into a pining space, so I don't know.
Yeah, you have.
The risk is very high to reread.
It is. Is there any reward for you? Like, is there any reward for you? I do need to know how that series ends. I will read it and maybe I'll tell you.
Yeah, I need somebody to at least spoil it for me. I don't know if I can bring myself to read book 3. I'll consider it. I'll take that. I just have a lot of fears.
I get it.
I've been hurt before, you know? Like, it wasn't even Powerless that put me into the slump so bad. It was Reckless that put me into the slump.
Oh, yes.
Reckless is where it went. Because, like, Powerless was And then you got to the end and you were like, okay, maybe we're going somewhere. And then Reckless, I was like, hatred.
I blame it for your romanticy slump. But I do think, what if, because I think it's Fearless is book 3. Yes, Fearless.
Yes.
What if Fearless is phenomenal? What if it's like, and then we just feel so vindicated in the wrap up of the story and we're like, I do think we need to know. But I agree with you. I think it's so interesting going back to books and rereading them, giving a completely different perspective. And since I completely changed my mind on Wild Eyes, I'm like, what else is out there that I didn't vibe with and now I love or something?
Or authors I abandoned.
Yeah.
Like so there's one author that somebody we just talked to told us that she loves her. And I only read one of her books and I was like, never again.
That's right. And what if
So now I'm doubting myself and I'm like, maybe I was wrong.
Maybe. Well, yeah. Yeah, we don't know. We need to go back and I guess now we should do that as like what would you call that? It's not a parade, but a tour. A tour of our old books we disliked. Did we change our mind on them? A tour of old books we disliked.
That would be interesting. It's just, could it be a really bad time?
If you're still not vibing, then
like the worst episode ever. Times.
Yeah. Be like, did you change your mind? No. Let me double down.
You know what we would have to add to that list too?
Crescent City.
God no, I don't think you can reread that.
Okay, Crescent City 1 is phenomenal. It's a top tier book for me. The ending is fantastic. 2 and 3.
If Crescent City 1 had been 50% the size,
shorter,
it would have been better.
Gotcha.
Because I liked it.
See that.
It was just like there was times where I was just like lost in the sauce, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Too much sauce.
Then from there it was just the downhill.
Okay, again, book 1 of the ending of book 1, some of my favorite writing I've ever read. What were you going to say though? I interrupted you with Crescent City.
No, that was it.
You were going to say another series. Was it Crescent City?
Oh, no. City of Gods and Monsters.
Yeah, maybe we need to give that another chance.
I don't know. I need to be in a really different place to be rereading some of these because I can only imagine the book slump that would come out of the rereads.
Well, maybe it just needs to happen naturally because like how Wild Eyes happened for me, we read Wild Side. I loved it. I was like, so maybe it'll naturally, organically happen over time. We'll want to reread and we'll go back to it. Maybe.
So in my reread though, I reread The Deal again because The Deal is like, The Deal is probably one of my top 5 all-time books of just like, I could reread it 100 times and never be tired of it because my love is just endless for this. But something that jumped out to me is that there is this reoccurring theme in books of public declaration of love or like a public apology, right? And this is across books, right? In the moment, they are very sweet. Like when you read them, you're like, taken back, right?
Yeah.
But if this happened to Jordan the person,
I
would be like pissed. I would be hiding. I would be like, is that not your worst fear?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, if everyone's watching,
yes,
and then they're like, yes. Oh, well, I think what would be the biggest issue? I totally agree with you. The biggest issue is like, yes, these declarations of loves in books are flowery. They're fantastic.
Yeah.
They fit the moment.
Beautiful.
But then it's like, yes, but then it would be like, I feel like you'd almost go into like performance mode because it's like public wedding proposals or engagement proposals. God. Like it's like you almost go, you go into this like performance mode. Would you even really hear the love declaration? Because you'd be like, all these
right?
people are looking. Like, what do I say? Yeah, I agree with you. I'd want to go into hiding.
And like, yes. And like now people be knowing your business. I'm the kind of person, like, you sing happy birthday to me in public and I want to punch you. So like if you gave me a sentimental speech in front of people, like stood up and gave it to me, I would be like, you don't know me. Thanks for the apology, but you've learned nothing here.
Yeah, that's actually so true, that because they don't know you well enough to know that that's actually the way you'd hate it.
Yeah.
So
like I would want to, like, I would be like, is there another Jordan here? Can't be me.
One?
Were you cheating on me?
So, but I guess, are there people out there that love it? Like, that don't have those same feelings where they're like, yes, declare your love publicly. Apologize publicly. Like, maybe we feel that way.
Yeah, but I guess to your point, right? A public proposal. That would be my nightmare. Like, I don't know why the first thing that comes to mind is like a sports proposal. There would have been no yes. That would have been a firm no. It would have been like we clearly do not see eye to eye here.
Well, what I would think, and this again, my mind is not always the nicest place. I'm not going to lie. Sometimes it's a very dark place. But what I would think is it's manipulative, because that person would know I can't say no. I could not reject someone in front of thousands of people at a sporting game. I would have to say yes. Kudos to you. Kudos to you. I would sit there being like, I mean, yeah, you know, I'm not going to reject you in front of all these people. But then you're like, was that manipulative? But then if you're proposing, I don't think you want to propose to someone.
It's manipulative on the proposer's standpoint.
Yes, it is. It is. But then it's like, if you're proposing, because then I was thinking like, well, why would they need to manipulate you in their proposal? Like, they should be confident that you're going to say yes and propose to you in a way that they know you want. So then I was like, okay, well then maybe you shouldn't be proposing if you need to do it in a manipulative way. But again, mind is a dark place. Not everyone thinks that way.
So for example, scenarios, right? If you were to propose to me at a sporting event, I think I could say no, because I would be angry enough.
To you.
Now, if you like Taylor Swift champagne problems, threw a party and proposed to me in front of friends, I think I would give you a sympathy yes and then break up with you after. I don't think I could say no in front of a group of friends. If it was like all of our friends and family, I would lie.
Got it.
I think I would lie.
Yeah.
If again, if I didn't want to say yes, right? If we're
right
perpetuating this story,
right?
I think if it was in front of friends and family like that, I would lie, because that's personal. Then I guess versus like, I don't know these people. For all I know, they're going to be like, "Go, girl!"
Exactly. And also, you don't like sports, so they've just failed.
Exactly.
Sports and public proposal.
At sports ball, get out of here. Whereas, like, if his mom was looking at me and I'm saying no, that's a little out of my wheelhouse.
It would be hard. In high school, when I went to the high school before the high school you and I met, this guy, he baked a cake and it said, "Will you go out with me?" And he walked up to me in front of his friends and my friends and brought the cake that said, "Will you go out with me?" And I did not want to, but I said yes, because I could not stomach the thought of him being rejected in front of his friends and my friends.
Yeah. See, I can see that.
Like, yes. And then we broke up shortly thereafter.
Yeah.
But
you're like, how long do I have to write out this date cake?
This cake. Yeah.
How many days did this date cake buy you? 30. It's like, what, hindsight though? Hindsight though, what if you karate chop the cake?
That's what I should have thought of.
So no.
That's what I should have thought of. I don't want your cake. That's what I should have thought of.
So a date cake gets you 30 days with Sheridan?
Yeah. Exactly.
The confidence you'd have to have. Like, this is
I know.
This is where we get into how do men have the audacity? Like, where does the audacity come from? Because how many women would do that and be like, there's a fitty shot.
He's gonna say yes or no. I know.
I'm gonna make a cake.
Yeah, I'm gonna bake a cake and I'm gonna try. I'm gonna shoot my shot in front of everybody. I still feel anxious. I still feel anxiety at this moment thinking of this moment. I'm still thinking of like anxiety.
Oh my God. I would be stressed.
I was so stressed. And this actually brings me into a point I want to talk about in books. Because to preface this, we were friends. Like, I thought we were friends. I did not have a crush on him. Obviously, he had a crush on me. And then we dated. And then obviously for a month. And then he was not my friend anymore. He never spoke to me again. So it's like he was never my friend. He just, I thought we were friends. So this is the oldest question in all of the books, of all of the movies. When Harry Met Sally, If you are heterosexual and you have friends of the opposite gender, can you truly be friends without one of you at some point developing a crush on the other? Maybe you work through the crush, because this happens in books. Maybe you work through the crush and then you stay friends, but at some point one of you wanted to have sex with the other. I don't think friendships exist if you're straight of the other gender without one of you wanting to have sex with the other at some point in time.
I disagree, because I can think of a specific friend that I have that I met that I knew that was never on the table, and our friendship has always been fine. Now, I think if you were one of those people who had a ton of them, maybe that's not the same. I don't know. I've never been that kind of person, but I have a friend that I can think of that has been my friend when I've been single versus not single, and to my knowledge, it has always been platonic. Now, again, that's just my perspective of it. Is it has always been platonic? So,
I've read this in several recent books where they there's a specific book that made me think of it. Where the female main character has a lot of straight male friends, and it's like that, and they are completely platonic. Her love interest is someone completely different. It's not a friend that became a love interest. The exact book I'm actually thinking of is Hunter and Demi's book of Elle Kennedy. She has a lot of, like, she has her group of male friends. So it's interesting. Hunter, that's one of my favorites.
It's one of my all-time favorites. Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
So, but that's what
that reread was like joyous. So talking contemporary, I think something I wanted to talk to you about and go off of is something that I like to call a contemporary slump buster, because something that we've talked about a lot lately is how maybe you only read contemporary, or you're in a big contemporary space, that it can be hard to find your next read because it feels formulaic, redundant, something to that aspect, where, different author, different whatever, the plot still feels predictable. And I thought we should talk about some of our favorites that put the romance not necessarily in the backseat, but have a really heavy plot outside of
it. Okay. Yeah, I'm down. Let's do it.
Okay, so one of the first that comes to mind, I am on a huge Lucy score kick.
Yes.
And she's got a couple that come to mind. The first is her Riley Thorne series. So it starts with The Dead Guy Next Door, and it's a 4-book series. It is contemporary. There is definitely romance in it, but the main plot is almost like a psychic plus detective solving crimes, and heavy humor, very quirky. Yes. One of my favorite pickups that I've read to really get me out of that feeling formulaic slumps.
I love it. No, I completely agree with you. I'm obsessed with that series. Like, it is so good. It definitely took me out of a contemporary slump, and I love that the plot is like around, I don't think this is a spoiler, she's a psychic, and the kind of crime solving aspect of it totally is a slump buster for me as well. Another recent contemporary slump buster for me, where I felt it really took out of that like formula. Romance was at the forefront, but it still took me out of it because so much else was happening, was absolutely Wild Side by Elsie Silver. That was like a contemporary where I was like feeling I really needed a fantasy romance or a paranormal romance, but then we did read Wild Side and it was a 5-star read. Like it was a slump buster for me, I think, because it is romance forward, but there's so much else going on with the female main character, her sister, her nephew, like just kind of like the family dynamic and family trauma, for lack of a better word, that it is romance forward, but I think a little different,
Yeah, I think the plot, for it to be a quote-unquote slump buster in this scenario, a qualifier, is that it just has to feel like the romance is a complementary aspect rather than the point. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And I think that's where contemporary starts to feel, for lack of a better word, formulaic, is when it feels like the whole point is the romance.
Yes.
Another one of these is the Catherine Cowell series. She's got the Beautiful Exile, Fragile Sanctuary, that whole series. It was my first step into suspense romance, where there's, again, still a very solid love storyline, but there's so much else happening in the plot, and specifically fear tension based, that has you just destroying this book and stressed the whole time. And you care about the relationship. It's important, but it is not the forward thinking thought. You're thinking, when is this other shoe going to drop, or what's going on over here? And that was such a unique style for me where I don't pick up one of her books and go, I know what's going to happen. Like every single time I feel a level of anxiety and stress.
Yes. No, I completely agree. Those books are like, they hook you. There is a book hook. It comes out of a book and it hooks you. Like those are so good. A book hook. Like they come and they get you out of it. It's so good. Another one for me, there is romance. It's ongoing romance. A couple characters fall in love over the course of the series, but it is not the main factor as well. It is the Housemaid series. It's a contemporary setting. It's more of like a crime thriller mystery type book. There's an ongoing romance through all of the books, but definitely not the forefront. And oh my gosh, talk about a slump buster. Listen to that book or read it. Like you will be hooked immediately and you need to know what happens. Like there's always a twist you do not see coming. And even though you know a twist is coming, I've still never predicted it. Every time I know a twist is coming, I never know what it actually ends up being. So good.
The only other one I can think of top of mind, also Lucy Score. Like I said, I feel like Lucy Score has her books are definitely bigger. And a lot of times when I sit down with them, I'm like, wow, this is going to be 500 pages. I don't know about that, man. Especially in a contemporary. But what I found is she does such a good job of additional plot or additional humor, additional life around the characters that I care a lot more. And again, it doesn't feel like I'm just pushing this romance forward uphill. And one of the big ones, it's one of my all-time favorites, is Rock Bottom Girl. Because
I was just thinking that.
The whole story is more about this girl starting over. What I really like about Lucy Score, too, she tends to focus on like 30 to 40 age range, which I think is unique, especially in contemporary. I think we read a lot about college to outside of college, which is fine. Like, you know, like I read it, don't get me wrong. But it's nice to read stories where people are starting over or at a different point in life where it's not this fresh-faced, innocent, for lack of a better way to put it, not even necessarily innocent, but just starting out, getting everything right sort of thing. I love reading these stories of starting over because so many people do start over in different ways all the time. She has a way of writing, finding yourself, finding where you belong, finding what to do. And Rock Bottom Girl is like a top tier one for me.
Agreed. I was totally thinking of that one. Oh my gosh, it's so good. And what I love about like that book as well as the Riley Thorne series, I cannot say enough good things about it because I think to your point, we're kind of sold this idea that, you know, by a certain age all the time, you see it in media all the time, by a certain age you have to have XYZ figured out, all this, whatever. That does not happen for the majority of people, or things change, you know, and priorities change, life changes. So what I love about her book, it's so relatable to be like, yeah, you thought your life would be like this. There's this expectation, there's this external expectation, but it's not like that, and that's okay. And then you find your own path and journey, and it's way better than you could have expected, than what your expectations were. I think Lucy Score does such a good job at that.
And it's always with the relationship as like a plus, right? The relationship enhances what the character is doing, but the character is chasing, you know, in this situation, a career, a new life, a new outlook on life, right? And another good one, honestly, top of mind is Truly Madly Deeply kind of does that.
Yeah, I would agree.
By L.J. Shen, where you're getting a character really coming back into their own. And those are the kind of stories I love, where it is about a human healing, a human changing, a human, you know, working through something. And then, like I said, the love is the sauce on top. So
it is. Yes.
Not the whole parfait.
Yeah. Exactly. Oh, I love Truly Madly Deeply. That book is so good, and I would agree with you. There's romance for sure, but there's so much more to that story. That's how I felt about Wild Side. Again, very romance forward, but I still think so much more of that story going through like grief and the journey of healing grief and like healing personal traumas. Loved it.
Okay, question for you. Because I found myself going down this path, right? Have you ever read a mediocre book? And I mean like not bad, right? Not like 2 stars where you're like, I hated this. But like a solid 3, you know what I mean? Like could take it, could leave it. Where it's a part of a book series and by the end of it, somehow you're reading the next book.
Yes, 100%. I can think of a series right off the top of my head.
Oh my God.
I was like, you know, I don't hate this. Like I'm kind of in the middle of it. I care about the characters. I wanted to see what happened with the romance. But I was like, why? Now I've read 4 500-page books. to know what happens in this romance.
Oh my God.
I've 100% been there. They get you.
I did that. It's like a 6-book series, right? I just picked a random, sometimes, because again, you know me, I pick up interconnected standalones wherever I feel like. A lot of times I go for the highest rated one because I'm also a believer, right? We've talked about this a ton of times about how the first book tends to be like the flop, and then it gets better from there. So I tend to hop in and say, hey, where did we really pick up speed here? Right. And I start there because then I care about the characters. I'll go back, right? Whatever. So I had started with this one and it was mid at best. Okay.
Yeah.
There were so many parts of it that were like cringy to me.
Oh no.
Like the way they talked, whatever. But I found myself wondering about all of these side characters.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you got invested.
I think I read 3 or 4 of them.
Wow. Wow.
But honestly, 2 of them ended up being phenomenal. One of them I sent you and said, this is actually really good.
Yes. I want to
read this. And then I ended up picking up another one that was also really good. They were the higher rated out of the series. So now I'm like debating if I'm going to go back to some of them because some of them are rated lower than the one I thought was mediocre.
Oh, so you're like, what if this is, you'll have to report back. Like you'll have to report back.
It's wild to me how, and I think I do this a lot with interconnected standalones where like I'll find the characters I like out of it and then keep following them.
Yeah.
And I still won't go back in order. So it's like, it's interesting. how where you start in a series can change
your opinion on the series. That kind of ties into our earlier point of like going back and rereading books to see if you like it. What like to your point, what if we started a book in a series, we were like, oh no, but what if the other books in the series are much better?
Right. And I'll never know. And I don't know if I can
know.
Yeah. Or like, or like how many books did I just like sometimes, because you know how Kindle Unlimited, because I'm a huge Kindle Unlimited user, you know how sometimes if you like have downloaded a book before and DNF'd it and you open it back up, it'll start you at like whatever page you were at. Have you ever done that to yourself where you like go back in and you're at like 30% and you're like,
this is actually not that bad.
What the fuck were you about?
That bad.
This happened, dude. This happened to me in the same series, Sheridan. In the same series.
One.
I'm not even kidding you. I went to one of them and I was like, I had made it through like 30 or 40%. And I was like, I don't remember this at all. Because I've met you as side characters, right? I know roughly your setup. How did I make it through 40% of this book? Do I go back? Did I hate it? Like, did I just, because I'm also a mood reader, right? Did I just like change vibes? Or I was like, an hour now. Like, what?
Could be.
What?
You're like, what?
This series is like quicksand through my fingers. I don't know how I feel about it.
You're like, I don't know. What? And it's interesting because it's like, what is the answer? So what is for a lack of a better term, the special sauce that kept you going? Even though you're like, this is a meh, this is a middle of the road, but something kept you going. I think genuinely sometimes it's, you just have to know how it ends. Like you're intrigued enough.
So yes, I say that's true if it's like a build off of itself. So not interconnected standalone, but more like fantasy, right? Where you
gotcha. Yes.
You can't like hop around, right? You have to see it out. Then yes. Now for this, I think it's characters. If I'm in it and the characters on the side, I'm like, you know what? These guys are kind of lame, but I'm interested in what you're doing over there, or you're alluding to something going on over there. And I want to know what's up.
You want to know.
That's when you hook me.
Good to know. I just wanted to know how certain things ended.
Really?
You know what I mean?
You've never just been like invested in a side character more than the main character?
It's so rare for me to feel that way. So rare. So
I feel like that's really common for me.
I know. That's like, it's definitely a difference in our reading styles. I'm trying to think if there's ever a time where I'm like, those side characters made me want to read another book. There have been times where I'm like, I need to know what ends up happening to them again. I need to know. But I'm trying to think, can you think of a time where I've told you I love those side characters?
I don't know.
See?
Mine is
like side characters.
I wonder if mine is like my ADHD translating into, because like, okay, I have this thing in front of me, but this one's way shinier.
It could be.
And so like for me, I think it's like that meme where the guy's looking back at the other girl. That's me with the other characters.
So you're always interested in this like shiny object over here.
Yeah. Like wait. Especially if they like, because one of my favorite things, and I think this is also why I love contemporary so much, specifically interconnected standalones, because I don't necessarily find myself getting hooked as much on standalone contemporary. I want the worlds to kind of build off each other. Because what I love what they do is they'll set up, especially if the timelines overlap, they'll set up some drama on the side where you get a little bit of it and you're like, oh, they're looking at each other weird, or oh, they get in this fight and you're like, tell me about your fight.
What?
I know I'm not going to learn about that fight here. I need to know about that fight and then I care.
You are correct. I can think of examples where they pick up like there's like a mood shift, and if the male main character's been pining for the female main character, or they pick up a vibe, or the main characters say like, yeah, he's been into her for forever, or they make jokes about it. I need to know. I need to read the book. So yes.
That's what I'm saying. And then you're almost out of the book you're in. Yeah. Because you're like, well, hang on. There's some what's going on over here with Greg, and I care.
Exactly.
But in that same tone, right? In the same journey I've been down, they have text groups. And I need to know if this bothers you like me, okay? I'm going to ask you this just straightforward. I need your answers. Yeah. Okay. So say you're reading a romance book or a book, and there's a text group in it, right? Where friendship, whatever, right? Whatever their text group is, family. Does their texting etiquette bother you ever?
It depends. The only thing it would bother me is when they're a little too rough on each other. When they because I can think of one book in particular, and maybe this is not what you're talking about by etiquette, but it'll be like if they are teasing each other and the teasing's a little too hard, I'm like, stop being mean.
Oh my God. Not what I meant, but that's funny.
Okay. What did you mean?
I mean, like, I was reading this book and the short form of the texting was like the number 2, the letter U, the letter C. Like, not like one Z. Like, if it was like just the 2 or just the U or just the C, wouldn't have bothered me. I mean, you're not saving a lot of time, but I can move on past that. Yeah. But I'm talking like completely short form, and every single character writes like that. Every single character. Even if it was just one character, you'd be like, oh, that's just like that character's like addition. It was every single character, and it drives me insane. And I don't know what is wrong with me that bothered me so much.
That would bother me too. I just think we don't text like that. Like we really don't text like that. So
not everybody, not everybody you know. I'm talking like the boyfriends, the guys group, the girls group. I was like, come on. You type in shorthand like that? Like,
is it old school texting? Because remember when we had T9 and you had to like get through the characters? So then it's like, did they just learn?
Well, now I'm going to look up what year this book was written. Hang on.
Yeah, maybe is it? Hang on. And then is that what they had to do?
I don't know if I'd forgive it still, though. I just want to be clear that I don't know if I'd move on still. Hang on.
So our bugaboos about it are if they're too mean for me, and for you if there's short code used.
2015.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
iPhones
too
were
long.
Totally, yeah. Androids, yeah. They were not
I was like, hang on, actually. It took me out of the book so hard in a way that like it probably shouldn't have. And again, it was like something I felt was cringy. And I was like, it really at a high level isn't that big of a problem. But I did have to force myself to move past that.
Wow. So it like really bothered you.
It really bothered me like a lot. Like I was like I got to the first text exchange and I was like, oh.
I hate this.
I don't know.
Type out a word.
Yeah.
Type it out.
Everybody writes that way. No way.
That's crazy. Well, now I know how to text you.
I mean, you've never texted
a lot of.
Well, and again, if it had been like 1 or 2 or just one character, even. Sure. But like the complete short form, what is happening?
Just you wait.
If you start doing that, I'll just never text you back. This podcast dies. People are going to be like, they stopped recording. Why? It's because Sheridan started shorthand texting me.
That would be hilarious. I would like to kick off our games session with having you guess the female main characters by their nickname in the book, okay?
Okay.
So I've got some nicknames for you. We're going to start off strong. Fireheart.
Oh, Aelin.
Yes, the queen herself. Now, personally, for you, the next one, Blue.
Zodiac Academy.
Yes, Darcy.
Oof, Darcy, yes.
I was like, if you
my brain did like a blip because I think I've read another book where somebody was named Blue.
Okay,
and my brain like went like it was like switching gears and it couldn't decide.
Do you know what I think of when I hear the nickname Blue? You're going to judge me so hardcore.
Who?
Go ahead.
Well, the right move. I think he calls her Blue too.
Indigo.
Indigo.
Indy. But he might call her Blue. You're right. You're right.
That's why my brain was like, it like stalled between contemporary and fantasy.
Like, which one? But no, it was definitely ZA, so you got that one.
Okay.
I think of the raptor from Jurassic World. It's named Blue. Anyway. I do. I'm not lying.
Do you remember that?
I don't know. Trauma. I don't know. But it's what it's called. Okay. Last but not least.
You could name the
I know.
raptors. Okay.
Okay. Last but not least, Witchling.
Oh, Manon from Throne of Glass. Yep.
Yes. Okay. Wellesley.
Oh, the deal. This is Hannah.
Yes.
Rent free, I'm telling you.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to poorly describe a book to you, and I want you to guess what book it is.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay. A girl from the slums awakens metal in her world, making a hot fey kidnapper.
Quicksilver.
Okay. A forgotten princess gets out of slavery, buys a ton of books and clothes, and then is forced to lead a rebellion.
Throne of Glass?
Yes.
Okay, because I was like, whoa, what? Okay, Throne of Glass. Good one.
Okay. A hockey player fails a test and stalks his classmate until she agrees to tutor him.
The Deal.
Yes.
The Deal. It's so good. So great. Those are good ones.
Thank you. Well, did you have fun here today, Sheridan?
I had a great time. I had a fantastic time. I would rate it 10 out of 10.
And you can too on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
Yes, you can.
You can rate us 5 stars, no less.
Yeah, no less. There's not another option.
Yes, and you can always leave us a comment. Let us know what you'd like to see more of, things you'd like us to talk about.
Yeah.
Well, you heard it here through the grapevine. If you like what you heard, you can find us on Instagram and TikTok at Sippin on Spice.
Yes, and we also have a YouTube channel where we post our previous episodes, and there's also just some fun videos on there of our different bookish content. So please go check us out on YouTube and like and subscribe.
Yes, hope to see you next week. Cheers.
Cheers.